Hello. So in the last video here, excuse me, I showed you how I do skincare plain and fancy. And I ended the video with just like my face looking very greasy on both sides, on the plain side and the fancy side. So it's been about, I literally ended recording that video about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes ago. And I thought, it wasn't really great how I ended it because you still saw a greasy face. So I want you to look at my face now. Now, yes, is it still a little bit shiny? It is, but so much of the product has been absorbed into my skin. So I thought I'd take this further and in this video do plain and fancy makeup. Why not? Let's have fun, right? So I am strategically doing the fancy makeup on the right side of my face because I'm right-handed, and the plain makeup on the left side of my face. So, hey, I'm Amy. This is where we have fun experimenting with makeup, style, confidence, mindset, and who knows what else. Let's dig in. So, because I've already done the skincare, now I'm going to start, and I actually do the same thing for both sides, plain and fancy. I'm going to do concealer. It's just going to be the same for both sides of my face. I will put everything in the description of what I'm using, and I just dab a little bit under each eye, and then I do it around my nose because it's red, or a darker color around my nose, maybe just a little bit down, and then just a dab here and here. And now the only difference is I'm probably going to take this up here for, oh, that's a plain side. All right, well, there we go for the fancy side. All right, then for both sides, a makeup sponge. This is just a little bit of lavender and filtered water. I spray that in the palm of my hand. I roll the brush. It's not a brush, it's a sponge in that, just getting it a little bit damp. And then I lightly dab under the eye, both sides. I guess both sides for up here as well. Sorry about that. Around the nose. And it's just a light dabbing, tapping. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to come back on both sides with a brush. And this is Laura Geller. I just got it with one of the kits, but I really like this brush. So I'm just going to gently, and I typically go from the outside in first, and it's very gentle, very gentle. Can put more pressure down here. Then sometimes I just kind of bring it along everywhere else. All right, I just have to remember this is the fancy side, this is the plain side. The next thing I'm going to do for the fancy side, I rarely use foundation anymore, but I'm just going to pretend that I don't know, going to the opera or something. All right. I'm actually taking my daughter and granddaughter to go see Wicked, a live musical, this week. So that I'm looking so forward to that. So I just take this, swish it around in here. This is also Laura Geller baked something. All right. So I'm just gonna put that over everything, just buff that in. Takes away a lot of that shine. But what I like about Laura Geller is that it's not matte. I actually don't like matte makeup. I'm sure all mattes are absolutely fine. Do it on my eyelid as well. It blends in very well, but just giving that extra little oomph, plus extra little oomph for the base when you're adding other makeup. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing blush on both sides, but I'm just going to show you the difference for this. On the plain side, this is bronzer. Do it all in the description, all right? Otherwise, I have to put my glasses on. And I'm just doing just that. I'm going to do it on this side as well. And then I take the angled brush. This is also a Laura Geller brush. And I'm just bringing it up, kind of following my pretend indent there. And a little bit over the apple. Bring it up here, a little bit down here. You don't want it just to end abruptly. And that's all I'm doing on this side for blush. So on this side, I'll blend that in as well. A little bit darker up here because we're going for drama. All right, so that's that. Now we're going to add we're going to actually add a blush instead of just the bronzer. I put that on my thumb. Probably put too much, that's okay. And then dabbing the other end of this brush. So I've got the angled brush here and then the blush brush here. And I'm just kind of tapping and swiping there. And then very gently adding that to the apples of my cheeks, maybe a little bit here. Nope, don't want to do it there. A little bit here and down. It's a subtle difference, but it's enough of a subtle difference that it makes a difference. Did that make sense? I'm not sure. The next thing I'm going to do is get a foundational color to support everything else on my eyelids. And this is, it's a very neutral light color that I have here, tapping it off. I'm just doing it on the fancy side because I would never do this on a plain day. I wouldn't add multiple layers of eye makeup. But this one, I'm literally doing from my lashes up to my eyebrow. It's basically just as almost like a foundation for my eyelid. Then I'm going to do an eyeliner. I'm not going to do the liquid eyeliner. If you saw that video, I'm going to stay away from liquid eyeliner for a while. I'm going to practice in private with liquid eyeliner for a while. So this is just that same lavender and water that I put on my hands to dab this eyeliner brush. So I'm just going to wet it a little bit here and then put it in. This is an e.l.f. palette of greens. So I'm doing it in the darker color, just mixing it back and forth to get some on that brush. Okay, and here we go. I'm going to start at my inner corner as close to my lashes as possible with a thinnest line as possible. Even though it's dramatic, we don't want it to be so dramatic that we're ready for our close-up. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'm sure you can see the difference. Like it just pops on this side. But I don't always want everything to pop all the time. But I think if I were going out, like I said, to a musical or an opera or out to a fancy dinner, I'm going to do that. Now, I just want to make sure that I'm not taking it out too far, but it lifts up my eye a little bit. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to leave it there and not mess around any further with that. Then what I'm going to do is for the more plain eye, I could just leave it plain and just have mascara, which I do still have on because mascara's already been on. I could just leave it like this, but if for some reason, I just wanted a little bit of something. I'm always going to do, this is another e.l.f. palette. These are all browns. And again, I'll put the colors, but I always use just the basic brown, almost like a fawn. There's no glitter to it, nothing like that. It's just basic. And then I'm going to go on right where my lid meets my brow bone. I'm just going to swipe that just like that. And then maybe just dab it a little bit with my pinky. And that's that. It looks a little dark in there. Now I'm going to go back to the fancy eye and I am going to add green on my lids. So I've done kind of a blue-green line. Choose whatever color suits your fancy, what goes well with your eye color. Sometimes I think it's fun to, just try things. Yeah, like I literally want to try like an electric blue or something like that. I just think it would be fun. We all need more fun in our lives. So I'm going to do the same thing with this. Now, this does have some sheen to it. This is one of my dollar store finds, and I will put this also down below in the description. If you haven't seen the dollar store video, I'll do that somewhere around here. So the same location where my eyelid meets my brow bone. So it's just from the inner corner. And actually the brow bone is sort of my guide. And then out. Now this one I may take out a little bit more. Sometimes the wrinkles get in the way, like if you're doing something and you put the color over it and then you open your eyes and there's a blank spot because your wrinkle was wrinkling. All right, so that's that. Now I'm going to go back with this same one and go under my eyes. I don't like a harsh eye line under my eyelids, but I do like this soft line, and hopefully you'll be able to see why. Don't pull so hard on those. You see, does your mouth have to do that too when you put on makeup? Like open? I don't know why that is. Okay, so it just gives it just a little bit extra magic. That's what it is. It gives it a little extra magic. Add a little bit up here. Now I am going to, the eyebrows need a little oomph. The eyebrows can stay just as they are for my non-fancy side, my plain side. I should say plainer side. But I'm going to give them more oomph on the fancy side. And the first thing I'm going to do is this specific for eyebrows. It's very cool. I think I've shown this to you before, but on some video, I'm going to do just eyebrows. Because I think that we forget how important eyebrows are. As we age, it can make your face disappear. And I think if you've got that frame of eyebrows, even if all you did were your eyebrows and maybe some lipstick, it would be magnificent. I'm telling you, magnificent. This is a little touch and go sometimes. Sometimes all of a sudden a big clump will come out. But I like it because it looks like hair. And so I have wispy hair over here, but it's just gray, so you can't see it anymore. I also have some wisps of gray in here that I try to get with this. It doesn't always work, but I'm just filling in some bare spots with that. And then I'm going to go back over. Did I just do? I'm going to go back over with an eyebrow brush. I need a new one, that's for sure. And this can just kind of tame everything and maybe get some of those wispy grays so I don't look like Gandalf the Gray. Yeah, some of those. Okay. So I'm pretty sure you can tell the difference with the eyebrows. If we're going extra fancy, which, like, why not go extra fancy? See if I can do this. I'm going to add some fun gold up at the top and potentially in the corners. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. There we go. Q-tip. Here we go. So I'm going to take this gold. We're just going to have fun. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to put this up here. It's just a little highlighter. That's kind of fun. And also just a little dab in the corner. So you see that? Just add some fun. All about the fun. If I hadn't put mascara on, I would put mascara on now. Let's see. I guess I could add more on my fancy side, right? Without clumping it. I typically don't put it on my bottom lashes only because when I smile, my cheeks get really big and the mascara just ends up on my cheeks. So I try not to do that. But that's another reason why I kind of like to add that extra color underneath my eyelid so that there's something there. Okay, so we've got that. This side is almost done. Honestly, sometimes I'll do a gloss on my lips if it's just, plain or just Vaseline, something like that. But for the fancy side, we're going extra fancy. So yes, I got one of the Wonderskin lipsticks. So it comes out like that, purple. And I'm using it as my lip liner. So I'm just going to do one side. Oh, that's great. That's fabulous. Is it dried out? That's wonderful. Huh. It's a little dried out, guys. All right, we're going to persevere. We're just going to see if it'll work. Even a little dried out. Well, that's disappointing. Apparently, it's been a while since I've done fancy. It might still work. The thing with this is you put it on and then you have to let it dry for a while and then you wipe it off and the color is left behind, not this purple color. It's more of a pink color. Yeah, I should have tried it out ahead of time. Well, that's the beauty of doing this kind of thing. We're just going to let that sit for a while. Here's the other thing. Now that I put some makeup on, the greasiness is less obvious. But what I do like is you're still left with kind of a dewy shine, right? And we get further and further away from dewy as we age. So I do like that. It makes me feel a little bit younger, and well, that's kind of fun. If this doesn't work, I don't know what. I don't know what. Probably hasn't. See, it still did work. So you can see a little bit, although this bottom one looks a little purplish still. There. Well, in the next time I do fancy, I guess I won't be using that as the lip liner. I'll be using the lip liner as a lip liner. Now, the lipstick I'm using today is KZA. I think you can only get it online. It's a beautiful kind of raspberry color that I've got. They've also got a lip gloss that is amazing. So this is really fun. Goes on very nicely. And this is one of those ones that kind of have to, you just like have to eat like this and let it dry before you can do anything like drink a cup of coffee. You have to let that dry a little bit, but it's also one of those ones that will stay on. So before, when this actually worked well, when I do that and then this, it was just like a pop of lip. Um, I appreciate a pop of lip and I always like that, but maybe I'm lazy because it also is one of those things, while there's a staying power to it, you also kind of have to stay on top of it, constantly adding more to it. One last thing for the fancy side, I'm going to do, this is Essence Pure Nude with a little bit of shimmer in there. Nice big fluffy brush. Then just kind of, whoop. Everybody wants a little bit of shimmer. And there you have it. Plain, fancy. All right, cool. We'll see you in the next one.